Okay, so we have Steve Lindsey, the commander of SCS-133. Eric Boe is the pilot, and Tim Kopra is down there, is the flight engineer. So Steve, what can you tell us what's going on here? I know you guys are extremely busy. You got all kinds of books up. What do you got going on here? What's happening?
We're maneuvering and verifying that our inertial measurement units are aligned properly for deorbit, so we have an accurate navigation system to come in to enter. So we're working a couple of failures just to keep us awake, and other than that, everything's going fine.
And practicing your last day on orbit.
Last day on orbit. Yep. We got the we got the parachutes out and the seats set up and cooling units going, and before this sends over, we'll be suited up and we'll enter.
All right, so this is probably this will be a big day because it's the end of your flight, and it's also the last day on orbit for the space shuttle Discovery, isn't it? Is what you're practicing.
It is.
Very historic.
Yeah, it's the first last flight, as I think Ken Ham said for Atlantis.
Yeah. But this probably is going to be the last flight of Discovery.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think it's going to fly again.
Eric, what do you got going on over there?
Well, I'm helping out Steve. We're basically setting up. We have a maneuver coming in to get the orbiter pointed towards the sun to get us set up for entry.
He's basically trying to keep me from messing up.
Is that the idea?
That's his job.
Yes. Yeah. That's a pretty good translation.
Is that what
what's going on? Yeah.
He's
basically keeping an eye on me. Yeah, making sure.
Yeah. Does that look right? 4518409 1547.
That looks right.
I agree. 519. Should be stay future.
Yep. Full time it.
And it does. Yeah. All right. It's good.
This is the point in time where we transition from orbiting vehicle to getting ready to deorbit. So we transition from all our procedures for deorbit prep, and that allows us to get in a good configuration. And it's a really busy sim because what we're going to do today is put on our spacesuits and get ready to go home. And since this thing comes down like an airplane, it's very important to have it in that configuration. And so by the end of the day, we'll have our spacesuits on, our helmets on, we'll be strapped into our seats and ready to go home.
Get everything all set. And this is Tim, this is your second flight. Your first flight was a bit different, right? I mean, because you tell us about what you did on if you have a minute here. Tell us what you did on your first flight.
It's a little bit different in that I went up and down on a space shuttle to space station, but I could spend 2 months on space station. Yeah. So my ride was a space shuttle, but my home for a couple of months was the International Space Station. So this time, before, I rode on the mid-deck, and it was mainly transportation. This time, I'm pretty busy because I try to help out the pilot and commander for all the tasks that happen on the flight deck.
Right. And you're not gonna make sure you get back on.
That's a good idea.
You got to make sure you get back on a thing, or else you might get stuck. So,
well, this is a pretty unique flight because 3 of us had spent time on space station.
That's right.
Mike and Nicole.
Yeah. We weren't all together though, right? Mike and Nicole were there, weren't they? Weren't they up together or no?
Actually, I arrived and Mike was there, and then Nicole came up and we swapped. So all 3 of us had spent time together on space station.
That's pretty cool.
It is very cool.
That's right. I didn't realize that. That's very cool. But now you get to go back together and come back. So what vehicle did you go up and come back on before?
So I went up on Endeavor and I came home on Discovery. So this will be my second
ride on Discovery. All right. Very cool. What else? So you guys. You must be looking forward to this, huh? This is a big deal.
It's a very big deal. We have a couple of spacewalks that we're preparing for, lots of robotics, so we're gainfully employed.
Yeah. What about the historic nature of this? Because this is, we're winding down. This is the last, most likely the last flight for the space shuttle. You guys been getting into a lot of that too? Do you, the people around the center and around the country, kind of saying goodbye to the space shuttle here? You get a sense of that?
I think the main thing for us is that we have tremendous respect for all the people that have worked so hard to make the space shuttle program successful. This vehicle has done tremendous things, and we have a very visible job, but there are tens of thousands of people that have done just tremendous work to make this happen, and we're very proud of them, and we're very thankful for their great work.
Cool. Did you sleep in those things? It looked like you just got out of you're in your pajamas.
Well, this is
Did he just wake up?
What?
No, you're in your So you've got your thermal. Actually, they're fancier than what I remember.
These were
the new ones.
We were going to get these, now we're not getting them.
Or they're just teasing you.
Yeah. They said that they don't want to pay us to change the drawings. That little part of the drawing goes from says black underwear to blue underwear. You think I'm joking? I'm serious about this.
Because it's a change of color?
Yeah. So we're going back to the old blue ones.
All right. So this is just a tease.
This is a tease. This tells us, here's what you're not going to get to wear on orbit.
All right, so now you got that on, and you're gonna get your what are you gonna wear beside that? You're gonna wear any speed breeches or anything? You're gonna wear a G suit?
G suit.
You're gonna put a G suit on.
Orange pressure suit.
Right.
Yeah, helmet, gloves.
Get ready to come home. But you're not gonna put that on right now.
No, it'll be
You're
hours
just
later.
getting yourself ready.
It looks cool, but it's not very comfortable.
All right. You're MS1 on this one?
MS1 going up, and I'll be on the mid deck.
So that means when you launch, you're going to be on the flight deck.
On the flight deck, on the
and
far
when you land, you're going to be down here with Mike.
Down here with Mike, yes.
So I'm guessing then Nicole Stott, who's right over there.
She'll be MS1 for entry.
You wanted to introduce the crew. It is Nicole. Nicole is she's going to be sitting up there for entry and down on the mid deck. And then Mike's going to be downstairs both ways. So you guys kind of getting into this whole thing in the last flight of Discovery? Is it kind of like a big deal?
The history of all the things that Discovery did. You know, you kind of that things got done during the program, but I never really paid attention to which ship these things happened.
Oh, because we got a lot of things to worry. You don't worry about it. You think of it generically. Yeah. So what'd you find out?
All these finds out that all these first. Of course, Columbia was the first one to actually go fly.
Yeah.
But when we did the return to flight for both on 121 and 114, those were both Discovery. They also did return to flight after the Challenger accident.
I remember that.
So every time we've gone to reconfigure the orbiters, every time we really had a new orbiter that looked the same, Discovery was one that led the fleet.
I remember Robin Williams waking up. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh,
I was like in college or something.
Yeah.
And Robin was like, "Good morning, Discovery."
Oh, yeah.
Him in there. I don't know. Was it actually him or just an impersonator? I think it was him. I think it was him. Yeah, was that really him?
Yeah.
All right, so that was Discovery.
I don't think anybody else could do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I wonder if he was live in a control center.
More than likely. I don't know.
I think he probably was.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so Discovery's on all those things.
Yeah.
And now you guys are gonna finish it off.
So yeah.
So
I think of this as the last flight of Discovery.
I think it probably is the last flight though.
Yeah,
don't you?
probably
I mean, it's probably. Well, you find you're going around the country doing your training at KSC at the Kennedy Space Center and all that. People getting kind of sentimental, and what's it like? What's the feeling like?
A sense of pride.
This is pretty historic.
It works over at the orbital facility. They really seem to get that sense of history.
Yeah.
This is their ship. We just get to rent it for a few days and take it out for a spin.
Yeah.
But you can tell they're really proud of what they're doing. You
Yeah.
can see, they just treat that ship with loving care.
Yeah.
And it gives me a real sense of relief because our lives depend on that ship.
Yeah, that's important.
And these guys are really taking it seriously, especially this, about that last lap. It has had kind of that Memphis Belle feel to it, for that final mission. Yeah.
All right. And people got to be getting a little nostalgic about this whole thing.
Oh yeah.
This is.
And there's a number of people that come up and talk to me and says, "Oh, I was here when we had STS-1, and I'll retire when we get the last one done."
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, they got about this 30-year lifespan of the shuttle mission, and that's about the length of people's normal government careers. And, And so a lot of folks who are just looking back at the entire shuttle program, they're about to exit what the shuttles do too.
Oh, it's interesting because your first flight you said was on Endeavour.
Endeavour, yeah.
And so this must have a much different feel, being in the last flight of a vehicle and winding the shuttle program
very different ships. Endeavour was, it's obviously the youngest shuttle that we've got. When I flew it on STS-118, it was the first time it had flown since before the Columbia accident, and it had been completely reprocessed in depot. So it literally had that new car smell to it when you get in there. Everything was all brand new and overhauled. They had brand new instruments in it.
How long did that last after you guys got inside?
About 2 hours into flight, they
it turns into a frat house.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you get on Discovery. Discovery's it's got all kinds of wear marks and buff marks. It looks like it's been around the world a few times. Yeah, it's that kind of worn-in feel to it, more so than Endeavour. Yeah,
that's
very
great.
Different ships.
Well, I'm sure you guys are going to take good care of it, and we look forward to watching you guys. Nicole, you changed your clothes.
I did.
So you've got the fancy underwear on.
Ninja.
It's like a pajama party.
It is. It's very much slumber party.
Yeah, very nice. What were you doing? You were checking something off before we interrupted you.
I was checking.
What are you doing?
This is Mike's very nice card for what we're going to be doing for deorbit activities.
So you lose that and you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
you gotta
I think
say,
we have 4 of them though, just in case.
Houston, we lost the card, we can't come home.
Just in
I think
case.
that's what you're going to be saying. So don't lose that.
Okay,
I got 4 of
won't.
them just in case.
We do, yeah, backup.
All right.
And so it kind of goes by person, what each person will be doing for deorbit prep. And we have a procedure that goes along with that too, but these are kind of the big items just to make sure we get them done. And it feeds all the way through, making sure the seats are installed and
don't want to
that you
forget
put all your filters away and just general configuration of the mid deck and the flight deck, and then it goes through suiting up everybody to get ready to.
So everything is on it.
In your seat.
So this way we don't forget everything.
It is.
If anything, and it tells you. And I like this over here. You got an extra one for putting
for actually putting
the suit on, which
and there's things like
you can forget
these things like where you're hooking up your cooling. You've got this cooling garment on that's got all little tubes running through it and stuff. With the one big tube that actually hooks into the where the water's going to pump through it, and that's all inside of the orange suit. So it would be a real bummer if you got everything all on and then said, Forgot to hook that one.
Right. And there's a lot to think about. And this is, and you two guys, this is you've flown together on for a long time, so you know each other really well. I mean, you more or less lived in the same spaceship for how long were you together up there?
We were only together
Actually, not that long, about 3 weeks.
I think.
3 weeks.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it was at the end of my mission, and it was more
Yeah.
the beginning of hers.
Yeah.
So
we overlapped.
Right.
So do you tell people, like, you know, they said, where have you lived in your life? Well, I've lived in Atlanta and Chicago and space and Houston. Do you add that to the thing? Because you were there for 6 months.
You got there.
You were there for 6 months.
99 days.
Yeah.
And you were there
199 days.
199.
Yeah.
Yep.
You went short of the 200.
I know.
Darn.
I was gonna
I
add
think
it.
you knew
I was
that though,
gonna
because
get
it's
it
one.
now.
And how long were you up there? But 199 is a lot.
You didn't know that. Yeah.
And
That's
how-
huge.
And
91.
91
I feel a little
days.
cheated.
You
Yeah,
didn't
but
get
it
to
was
the 100,
beautiful.
but you're going to knock that
It
off
was.
when you get up there.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
get
it
the
was
9
great.
pretty quick. So I mean, do you say that because I was thinking about that? You know, you've actually lived in space. I mean, you know, the shuttle trip, you go up there, you come back 2 weeks early, doesn't count. It's like almost like a vacation. But when you're there for a couple months, I mean, you can almost you could file taxes.
So if you're-
You know,
Yeah, if you fill out your
residency.
loan application and they want to know your
yeah, where
past
do I
addresses
live
and whatnot.
exactly? Yeah, your address over the earth. I mean, what?
Yeah.
You
Voting,
put
that kind of thing.
Why do you
Yeah.
feel like an application or something like that when they want to know give your residences for the past 6 years?
Yeah.
You put February 2008 to August 2008 low Earth orbit. Is that what you do? You do that stuff?
I don't even get my
Yeah.
real addresses on when I haven't flown, so
So you just put your regular address down.
yeah. I mean, there's certainly the
So
time,
we're ready for Block 5 Discovery.
certainly the times where you want to tell people where you have lived during that time.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse for not doing something.
But it's pretty cool. You guys get to go back together after
Absolutely.
It's
after
neat.
being up there.
Yeah,
And
of course,
Tim
Colonel
too
Tim
was,
was-
Tim as
up there
well.
with
Tim
us
was
all
there. So all
overlapping.
3 of you are up there.
Yep. I saw Tim arrive and leave.
Yeah. Tim went back on Discovery when I came up on Discovery
guys
on
traded.
128, and then Tim went home.
He was
Yes.
there before you, and then
Yep.
you came up, and then you relieved him, and Mike was there for overlapping both.
Mike got to see all of us
Pretty cool.
and
Yeah,
everyone.
that was great.
So Alvin was filming us while we were.
I was filming
Filming
you,
the
filming
filming.
me, filming you.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. And the 3 of you weren't in space together, though, right?
No,
Alvin,
we
you were
weren't.
up like a year or so before then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's a bug. You know.
Yeah, that's the other
All right.
thing. 5 bugs.
Now you got to
Steve is
explain
now,
that. What is
you
that?
know,
5
5
bugs.
bugs.
I mean, bugs might. If the people with other kids are going to
Yeah.
get worried.
They're
Our
gonna love
members
it.
of the
Tell us
Our
about the
astronaut
bugs.
class.
That's
Right.
2000.
Explain.
Class
The
of
Millennium
2000.
Bugs.
The Y2K
The class of
bugs.
2000. The
Back in
Y2K
2000,
bugs.
when everyone was worried about the computer bugs, and
Yeah.
you guys took the name. So that was your class name. You were all in
Right.
the astronaut class of 2000.
And everyone
Right.
was worried about us. So
Yeah.
And it's 5 of you on 5 of you together, and then
Yeah,
Steve
right.
Lindsey.
this is an
Yes.
honorary
Who's
bug
a
now.
very
Honorary
nervous
bug.
commander.
What do you have to do? Did you initiate him?
Um,
It wasn't
Is it
maybe.
secret?
We're not
Don't
allowed
tell
to.
them.
Not that.
I flew.